We'll be going over IRS Notice CP23. This is the tax notice that you might receive from the Internal Revenue Service if you have made an estimated tax payment, but there is a discrepancy in your tax record. So the first thing I'll say about this is let's ignore the Form 1040A for this example. I did double check to make sure that this type of notice still exists and is not connected to a tax form that was replaced years ago. But basically the IRS, if you've made payments, the IRS will issue this notice if for some reason they needed to change your tax return to match their record of payments. So we'll go through step by step what this form details and what you can do if you disagree. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the upper right hand corner. You'll see the IRS notice CP23. This is for the tax year 2017. The notice date happened to be January 30th, 2018. And then social security number and contact phone number for the IRS. So I tell people to keep the notice date in mind, because if you do disagree with a certain assessment or a change that the IRS made, you generally have a limited period of time. And even if you agree, if there's an amount that you need to pay, there's usually a limited amount of time before additional interest or penalties might kick in to increase call it the payoff amount. So in this case, the payoff amount is $500.73, but after a certain period of time, usually 21 days, they'll reassess that with additional interest or penalties calculated if it's not paid off by that due date. So again, and we even see that alluded to February 20th, 2018. That's 21 days from this date of the notice. So the second thing that I tell people they should do is keep an eye on their address information over here on the left-hand side. So in this case, James and Karen Hines live at 22 Boulder Street in Hanson, Connecticut. So if they recently moved and filed a tax return after moving, then the IRS should update their new record with the address that they used to file their tax return. But if they're in between tax returns, then this correspondence might take a little bit of extra time to catch up with them. And again, you should put yourself in a position where you're getting these notices as soon as practical, which means keeping your address up to date. The easy way to do that, other than filing tax returns, would be to file IRS Form 8822, which is the official change of address form, or IRS Form 8822-B, which is the business change of address form. You can call the IRS, validate your information, and do that over the phone as well. A lot of people have told me that they don't like sitting on hold with the IRS. So the other option would be to fill out the change of address form to update your record. So let's take a closer look at exactly what this is talking about. So the IRS says we've changed your 2017 tax return to match our record of estimated payments, credits applied from another tax year, and then payments received with an extension to file. So as a result of these changes, you owe $500.73. So it looks like there is a tax owed. Taxpayer made these payments. There's a failure to file penalty, failure to pay penalty, and then interest charges that bring that to that total. So the IRS will always give you the default option of, if you agree, then go ahead and pay this amount. And you can either pay it by check or money order. You can use this payment stub. So if you do that, you should make your check or money order payable to the United States Treasury. Write your social security number, tax year, and the form number on your payment instrument, so your check or your money order. And then make sure that if there's any additional correspondence or documentation, that you don't staple it. You just put it in the envelope, and make sure you send it to this address here. A lot of people might get confused. They might send it to the address up here on the letterhead, in which case, in this case, that is the same. But I've seen a lot of these notices where this is a completely different IRS office than the one that you should be sending payment to. So make sure that you use the address on the payment voucher if you're going to send a check or money order. So if you disagree, then you should call the IRS at the 800 number that they give you. You should have your account information available when you call. And then if the IRS doesn't hear from you, then they just assume that you agree with the information. So, if you agree and you don't pay, then they'll just keep on tacking on penalties and interest until you do pay. So this goes over payment options. So you can use the IRS website. You can direct debit from your checking account. You can do a one-time payment. You can set up installment plans. You can submit what's known as an offer in compromise, which basically offers the IRS less money than what you owe. But if they accept it, it's after they've done a lot of due diligence to see whether or not you're holding out on them, or whether or not this really is the amount that you can afford to pay. So, and then you can also pull up a copy of your tax transcript either on the IRS website. You can file IRS form 4506-T to get a copy of your tax transcript. All of these forms that we mentioned in this video, we'll put links in the show notes to articles and videos that we created about them. So the changes to the 2017 tax return. So in this case, there was an exemption, which at the time of this recording is not allowed on tax returns. But so we didn't allow your spouse's exemption on line 6B or the earned income credit. Your spouse's social security number was missing, or the last name provided does not match records. So basically, this is kind of the meat of the issue on why the IRS changed the tax calculations. So, and it says to be eligible for the EIC, you and your spouse and your qualifying child must use a correct name and social security number. So I'll also put links in the show notes to some resources about the earned income credit for people that might be interested. This goes through tax calculations. Obviously, this looks different from what I would expect. I would expect some sort of changes between the taxpayer calculation and the IRS calculation. But in your letter, you should kind of see what this ends up being and how the difference is derived. So payment and credit history. So according to this, income tax withheld. Here are all the payments that were posted, and then payments that were credited to the account. It shows that you did not make estimated tax payments, but at some point you were supposed to, because this is how much you actually owed. So failure to file penalties, there's a description of how they're assessed, as opposed to failure to pay penalties. And then you can request penalties to either be reduced or removed under a couple of reasons. One, any person that incurs a penalty for the first time ever usually qualifies under a program called first time abatement. You can request a removal of penalties because you received erroneous written advice from the IRS, or if you are able to demonstrate some other reasonable cause that you had for your tax position. So you can request a claim for refund, a request for an abatement on IRS Form 843. This tax form does not cover interest charges. You can't really request an abatement of interest. However, any interest that was accrued on penalties that are removed, well, then that interest will also be recalculated and removed. So you kind of get a little bit of the interest abatement if you're successful in abating your penalties. If there's a significant amount of interest hanging on to your tax payment, then there's really not a whole lot of abatement options available. So other than just paying that tax bill as soon as possible. So there's additional discussion about additional interest charges, and then some more information about this topic. So what we're going to do, there are a couple of hyperlinks. If you're interested in making payments, you can do that right on the IRS website. What we're going to do is go to this page right here. So this is the Understanding Your CP23 Notice. And again, the IRS changed your tax return because there was a difference between the amount of estimated payments and the amount that they posted to your account. And as a result, you have a balance due. So, and then there's, more discussion about a payment plan, installment agreements. There's some frequently asked questions. So we'll just pop this open. The most common cause of this type of notice is an incorrect entry on the estimated tax line of your tax return. What should I do if I misapplied a payment? You can call the IRS to discuss your options. What's the estimated tax penalty? You can adjust your estimated tax payments by completing the worksheet in IRS Form 1040-ES. I do recommend that for virtually everyone that is making a tax adjustment. I get a lot of questions on Form W-4s or Form W-4P, for example. I always recommend that people use the worksheet in this form to estimate their tax payments, and then from there calculate their estimated tax, their quarterly payments. So some more FAQs about penalties and interest. So, and then there's additional forms. Again, most of these forms we've written articles to help you break that down. So the articles and videos, we'll put links to all of this in the show notes. So I think that's all we have for this topic. Yep. As I mentioned, if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see covered in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comment section. Thank you very much and have a great day.